LATOYA's parents continue to deny their daughter's allegations, but a private investigator found someone to corroborate them. He's a former Jackson 5 band member who also lived in the Jackson home. Today, for the first time, he supports LATOYA's charges of abuse. And now, please welcome LATOYA Jackson. They love you. You really did shock a lot of people when you talked about the verbal and physical abuse within your family. And what you're about to talk about is really even more shocking because you say you were sexually abused by your father.
Yes, my sister and myself were both molested by my father.
When did it start?
Gosh, it started ever since I can remember, actually, with my sister, because she's so much older than I am, and we slept in the same bed. Before I wrote anything about abuse, I asked my mother why my father did this to me, because I went to her for help. I wanted to know the answers, because I had so many questions. I was so confused, Geraldo. I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't think. I couldn't do anything properly. And I went to her and said, Mother, please, you must tell me, why did Joseph do this to me? And why did you watch him do this to me? And the answers that she gave me was, LATOYA, this is something that you keep in the family and you don't tell anyone else. It stays in the family. It goes nowhere else. I said, but Mother, just tell me why he did this to me. I need to know. She would not tell me. I should tell you that I don't know the boy Jordy. I have never met him, nor his father. But I am aware of a lot of things that went on at our house at Havenhurst when I did live there. He's a very wonderful, loving, caring person. However, at the same time, just because you're loving and you're wonderful and you're caring does not make it right for you to do those things to young children, because these are the children that are going to have to suffer in the future, and it's not fair. Well, I can't actually say what he does to the children, but I can say that there are always children, well, one at a time, boys sleeping over at the house. And this went on a normal basis. It never stopped.
LATOYA dice que...
When a boy sleeps with a 35-year-old man, he stays in the room for 3 or 4 days and never comes out. Something's wrong. The only fact is that she allowed my father to abuse us the way she did, and she's still denying it. And I think it's wrong to be in denial. And when parents abuse their children, you see the results, you see what happens later on in life. The children go on to be abusers themselves. That's why it's very important that we must put a stop to this now. And that's the only reason why I'm speaking out. Michael is my brother, and I love him. However, at the same time, I think the public is getting the wrong understanding. They're looking at him as the entertainer, the superstar. And we must put that aside and judge him as a man, just like anybody else. Any other man that's out there, and it would be wrong for any other man to sleep with a child and do these things. So I recall him getting in the bed with us and doing the acts with her, and my mother would say sometimes, Joe, not tonight.
Your mother knew?
Oh yes, my mother was very much aware of it. And then there were times when my sister couldn't take it anymore, and she would ask my mother to go get help for him, psychological help, and she refused to do that. And eventually my sister just decided that she wanted to leave home, that she could not deal with it anymore, so she left home.
You're talking about... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's my sister, Ruby.
Right.
And that's when he started sexually abusing me, when she left home. But my brothers and sisters, they won't say yes and they won't say no. They're still in the denial stage, so that's very understandable.
But are you friends with them?
There. Yes, yes.
We're talking about something that the whole audience doesn't know about, but you have written a book about what happened behind the scenes of the happy and successful Jackson family. What happened?
Yes, basically what I did actually was I wrote a book about a story about a family who was abused. And the family happened to be the Jackson family, a very famous family, because I think it's very important to address this issue of abuse and try and put a stop to it. That's basically what the book is basically about, what went on in our family. And so much when I was a very abusive family.
What happened actually?
Well, there were many types of abuse there. There was physical, emotional, and also sexual abuse. And
did your father beat you up actually?
Well, he would beat everyone.
How old were you when he beat you up the first time?
He never stopped. The first time my father ever did anything to me, ever hit me, beat me, was when I was about, I was in the first grade, actually.
And why did he beat you up?
It was the first grade. Because of my report card.
Wasn't good enough?
It wasn't good enough for him. The comment that the teacher made, the teacher said I didn't speak in school. And I didn't speak in school because there was so much abuse around the house. I was afraid. I was afraid to say the wrong thing. So I didn't know you didn't take it out of the house and take it to school. So as if I didn't speak in school at all because of that. But he was just a very violent person. He would take guns and hold it to our heads, pull the trigger, and laugh and think nothing of it.
And laugh?
Yes, laugh constantly.
Did he actually enjoy
He enjoyed
hurting
doing
you?
it.
And
Yes. I think he found pleasure in it.
And how did your mother react?
She allowed him to do these things. There were times when she would say, "No, Joe, no. What if there's a bullet in the gun?" He goes, "Kate, I know what I'm doing," because he's a collector of guns. He would always just pull it to your head and pull the trigger constantly. He would do this all the time, and he would take matches and burn our toes with it while we were asleep. And you know, you wake up and your toes are burning. You feel the sensation of burning fire on your toes, and you can't do anything about it because he's your father, and you're afraid that he's going to hit you if you say no, stop, or whatever. So you have to sit there and take the pain. You look down and he's laughing. He thinks it's funny. And lots of things he did. Whatever mood he was in, he'd come and take it out on us.
But how come all these horrible things happened, and still you could smile, you could act, you were 9 kids, you were the Jackson 5 famous, happy. How did it go together?
I called again. The next time I called, she says, "LAT0YA, your father did this because he was sick. He didn't realize he was doing these things to you guys when you did it."
Your mother said that?
That's exactly what she told me. Then I spoke to her again, and then she tells me my father doesn't recall any of this, and she says, "And neither do you, so forget it. And if you mention it, I'll say you're a liar, and the whole world will believe that you're a liar." And that's exactly what she's doing today.
How long have you and your family been estranged? How long have you been separated?
I separated myself from the family when they continued to deny the fact that child abuse exists in our family.
So only after you wrote the book?
Yes, because I feel that if they go on condoning this, it's very, very wrong. I cannot be a part of this because I'm not going to sit there and see children being abused and molested by other people and them agreeing with it and saying it's okay because they want everybody to think that the Jackson family is one of these perfect, happy families and loving families, which is very untrue. We were never that kind of a family. But the world always believed it because I guess in the black population, they wanted some kind of family that was like the Kennedys, and they wanted somebody that they can emulate or look at and say, "Gosh, I'd like to be like that family." And that's what we portrayed. That's what we were told and taught to be.
Why do your brothers and sister feel that you're lying? Why do they say you're lying? Why do they stick with their parents if what you say is true?
I wish they would come out and speak the truth. They don't come out and speak the truth. I must tell you that Michael supports. My brothers don't work at this particular time. They haven't worked in a long time, Geraldo.
Jermaine,
Michael, of
Randy,
course,
Marlon?
Michael, of course, works. And Janet, of course, works. However, Michael supports my mother, and a lot of them live in the house. So that means he's supporting whoever lives in the house.
But you were very young when it started.
Very young, yes.
And how long did it go on?
It went on for a couple of years. It went on basically my entire life. But of course, it went from that to verbal, if you know what I mean, which could be, it's so emotional as well. Verbal, because the things are so terrible when you hear them say certain things to you. And when you're in a room alone together. And I didn't like that. That went on, that continued actually until I left home.
Verbal abuse can be even more devastating sometimes than physical because it hurts. It leaves an impression in your head that doesn't go away.
But there was so much verbal. It was verbal in a sexual way and just verbal in general. And also the physical abuse as well.
Tell us more about your mother's, conspiracy of silence about this? Did you ever talk to your mother about this?
Very, very, very wrong. Put the start aside. My father, physically, mentally, and sexually. But I must say this. I cannot speak for Michael sexually as far as my father is concerned. I don't know if he did anything with one. We had a very close relationship when we were at home. We did everything together. We shared everything. And we did everything together. However, at the same time, I was very disappointed in some of the things that I saw. But you can't really accuse a person of anything if you don't actually see them in the act themselves. But you're aware, you have suspicions of things that are going on, like little boys that were in the room, that stayed in the room for several days, and you walk in and the personality of that kid has changed dramatically. It's so strange when you see these kids later. They become so withdrawn and so shy. In the beginning, they're so playful and so up, and all of a sudden they change and they're very close to him and they're with him every day. That's why I call it a life of a lie that we all lived, because our parents always told us to smile for the camera and pretend as if nothing was wrong. And in America, as you all know, we were sort of like quoted as the perfect image of an all-American family. And so we had to live up to that reputation no matter what. And we couldn't let people know that there was so much pain and so much torment and brutality that went on behind the scenes. We all kept it quiet. We all denied it. We never spoke about it.
How come you had the courage to speak about it at last?
Because I couldn't deal with it any longer. After a while, it begins to, I think, get to your system and eats to you, and you have to speak out. You have to say something. I think when you've been sexually abused, this is something that you think about constantly. You can never take it out of your mind.
Were you
Never,
sexually
ever.
abused
Yes,
too?
I was. Yes, as well as my sister. And it's something you don't forget. You try to forget it. But the abuse continued. It never stopped. It stopped when I left home, of course.
Did no one ever fight back?
No. Michael did when he was very, very young, but I think when he got old enough to understand you're not supposed to fight back, that's when he stopped.
Basic statement is that the reason they stay silent is that they fear harming the golden goose, Michael Jackson?
I would think so, definitely.
He buys silence.
Definitely, yes.
You're calling your own family collaborators then to child molestation?
Well, I know Michael definitely buys silence. That I do know as for a fact.
Not just to the family, but with
For
others
anything
as well.
he wants, definitely. He pays lots of money.
Would you say that your own siblings then are collaborators to a child molester?
Yes, absolutely.
Actually, what I'd like to now, run one of the first of the Neverland clips.
Don't treat me like a criminal, because I am innocent.
I want to get into, first of all, your reaction to his live press conference from Neverland. Did you see it live?
When I saw that, yes, I did. When I saw that, that was very touching to me. I was very torn. I was hurt. I know that when he says that he's innocent, I know that he isn't.
He is not.
No, he is not. He's not innocent at all. I really don't know. The only, as far as girls, he's never had a girlfriend in his life, but he's always with little boys.
Yes.
But one at a time, not...
Uno a la vez,
Yes.
no siempre, no todos juntos.
But I think people are missing the point. The whole point of my being here is to let people know and bring awareness to this, because these children are going to be scarred for the rest of their lives. They're going to be ruined. And I think the fans of Michael's are thinking, how could she possibly say this about Michael? Michael is just like any other man. You have to put a stop to this. It has to end somewhere.
LATOYA's
no,
reaction
the
to
reason-
Elizabeth Taylor. Do you think she is being a hypocrite?
When this first happened, Geraldo, people should stop and really think. The first person to Michael's aid was Elizabeth Taylor. If you stop and think, Michael should have called my parents. He should have called my mother. She should have been there. However, he didn't. He called Elizabeth Taylor. Now, I just left Europe, and I left the Alps. And there are lots of friends there that I have that live there. Elizabeth also lives there. And a lot of people there are doing a lot of talk, and they're doing a lot of whispering from what Elizabeth is telling them and what she's talking about and what she's saying. Now, she's saying to them that what LATOYA said about the $1 million is not true. She goes, I know for a fact that Michael has paid each one of his little boys $200,000 and not $1 million. And this is what she's going around telling everybody. Now, I feel if she's a friend, she shouldn't say anything. Don't do that behind his back.
Do you, LATOYA Jackson, charge that Elizabeth Taylor is speaking out of both sides of her mouth when it comes to your brother Michael?
From what the people are saying there, from what everybody's saying, yes, she is. Doesn't it sound logical to you that that's what she's doing?
A couple of years ago, you posed in Playboy, and that was a very big thing to do for someone who was a Jehovah's Witness.
Yes.
And you really rebelled against your parents. And now you did it again.
Yes,
you
I did.
posed again.
Yes.
How come? Why did you do it this time?
The first time I did it, my mother called me and said, as long as you live, don't you ever do that. I'll never speak to you. That was 3 years ago. And I would call her constantly, and she'd hang the phone up in my face. And I said, that control is still there, still dominating my life, still controlling me, telling me what to do. This was my punishment for posing, not speaking to me. So I said, okay, fine. She's punished me enough. I'm going to do it again to show her I don't care.
So you did it just to rebel against your mother?
Yes, to let her know. It doesn't matter what you say.
You wrote this very, very serious book, and at the same time you post in Playboy and you promote an album, Sex Box. Do you understand that people think that it's all a kind of promotion?
Yeah, probably, yes, I can understand that, but it wasn't intended that way, though. The book is the most important thing, of course, that I've done, because it's an issue to address child abuse, to try to bring an end to it or curb it, to get rid of this problem. However, contractually, I was obligated and obliged to do a record, and the record company had me stop my promotion and come over here and promote my record.
So you don't really want to promote your record, you want to promote your book.
Well, the record's nice, don't get me wrong. It's a very nice record, I like it very much, but I was in the process of promoting my book and working on the book, but if the company says you have a contract with us and you have to promote it, that's what you have. Well, you know about contracts, that's what you have to do.
It's a very tough business.
Yes,
you're
it's
in.
like, why now? But you have to do it. Yes.
Your family claims that it's your manager, who's also your husband, who kind of forces you to write this book and to do all these things.
No, he has absolutely nothing to do with it. As a matter of fact, he never knew about the abuse. He always assumed. I would always deny it with him. I would always say no, but he always assumed. And other people would tell him, and he would say, tell me the truth. And I would never tell him. No, I think they say that because they were afraid that I would speak the truth, and I would tell about this. And so this is a way to turn the situation around and put it on the manager. Because I think they should approach me more instead of my manager.
Why did you marry your husband?
Because I had to.
Why?
Because my parents had kidnap attempts out after me, which I didn't believe, and I couldn't deal with it anymore. After you see the security coming and your parents are right next door to where you live, and they had the van there ready to take you away, and I was told that they were going to do this, and I was told they were going to inject me and all these things. I didn't believe it until it happened, and then it happened again and again. And I was performing one night, and the minute I got off the stage, my manager said, come with me, and I said, where?
Michael mentioned the skin disorder, the vitiligo, that became famous, actually, after his Oprah interview. Does your brother, to your knowledge, have vitiligo?
To my knowledge, I've never known of a skin disease in my family.
Are you saying that your brother is lying about having a skin disorder?
I'm saying I've never known of a skin disorder in my family whatsoever.
So you think that he has bleached his skin?
Do I think he has bleached his skin? I don't know in detail what exactly he's done, but I do know what he has been doing. Now, since I've left home, I don't know what he's done since then. I have no idea.
I don't want to beat the vitiligo skin coloration thing to death. I don't think it's terribly relevant, but I had heard that you believe that your brother is taking some injections, and that the injections are a prescription medication, and that the prescription is written in the name of someone on the security force. Had you heard that story?
The injections, no, that's not true. The injections are not true. I do know, I feel like I'm just telling everything, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, because
Tell us, please.
This whole thing started out trying to defend children who are abused, but it goes on to other things because you ask me other questions, and that's how we get into situations like this.
But the answer to that one is?
That's how they know all these. He says, I'm going to marry you. I said, you can't marry me. I don't even like you. He says, but you must marry me. He says, I have to protect you. This time when your parents come, I can say, leave my wife alone. This is my wife. You can't touch her.
So that's why you're married. When I read the book, I got the impression that you're still a virgin.
And I love him as well. However, he needs help. It's as obvious as that. Yes, definitely, without a doubt. Because you know why? Once you speak out, and it comes out openly, and then he will realize and recognize what I'm doing is wrong. I do need help. I do need to stop doing this. And maybe he will stop doing this. Because if I don't speak out, he will continue, and other children will continue to be hurt. We must put a stop to these kids. Did you see the story about the preacher who molested all these little boys when they were young, and now they're grown men, they're 45 years old, and they're crying, their whole lives are ruined? Well, this is what's going to happen to all these children that this has happened to. And we have proof and evidence of kids that he's done this to. I think the sooner it comes out, the better it will be. The sooner he gets help, he can clear all this up, and maybe he can live a normal life.
Sí, pero ella dice,
and I must say, when I say I have proof of this, it's legal proof. It's not proof that I've actually seen. With my brother?
Yes.
Why haven't I spoken to him about this earlier?
Yes.
Because when you speak to someone about this, I approached him about a situation similar to this, and his question was, I like little boys, not meaning in a lovable way, but just liking them. However, when you mention something like this, they're going to automatically deny it. And yes, I have mentioned this to him several times.
Dice prácticamente que
There were never little girls. Think about this. When people love children,
Sus sospechas
girls
son
should have
que
been around. There were never little girls around.
no había.
I think that I don't know the situation with the father or
Pero
what's ever
habrás-
happening. However, what they have, the little boy is the one who's being destroyed either way. He's destroyed either way, because his parents have destroyed him, the media has destroyed him, everyone has destroyed him. Michael has, everyone has destroyed him. Because people like this that are screaming out, they don't understand. Little children are being hurt, and that's what we should worry about. Now stop and think. This is a 35-year-old man, and they must keep this in mind. 35-year-old men don't sleep with boys for several days and locked up in a room and never come out. Just because he's an icon or a superstar, don't get this mixed up. I know, I have been an abused victim, so I know what it feels like. I've gone through this.
Ella
So for
insiste
these,
sobre
you've
un
got to
punto.
save the children, and that's why I'm here. However, there are other things, but I cannot speak upon them at the moment. You must remember the reason why is because Michael also supports my family. They don't work. Everyone
Dice que
stays
no
at the
dirá
house.
nunca la verdad
And
gastos,
without
familia.
money, they have nothing. They will lose everything.
Y
They must get
convencida.
something straight. People get they get such a wrong impression. I love him. I live with him. I know him. Gotta remember, we all have mistakes, and sometimes we need
Quiere, pero
help. If this was a regular man doing this, they would have been upset about it a long time ago. They wouldn't be yaying for him. This is wrong. He's hurting innocent children. How can you yay for somebody who's done something like that? It's totally wrong. Help the young kids.